Greetings, esteemed viewers. In today's video, we delve into the fascinating history of the South Caucasus republics established in 1918. As always, we'll draw upon meticulously preserved documents from esteemed libraries such as the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C., the French National Library, the Russian State Library, and more, ensuring the authenticity and legitimacy of the information presented. Today's video will focus on debunking the myth propagated by Armenian propaganda about the creation of the Azerbaijan Republic. Many Armenians claim that Azerbaijan and Azerbaijanis were artificially created by Bolsheviks or Stalin. However, by examining a document currently housed in the French National Library, we can see a map on the cover of the book Eastern Europe, created in September 1919. On this map, we clearly see Ukraine, Azerbaijan, and Georgia in the South Caucasus, and Armenia in eastern Anatolia. Turning to page 19, dedicated to the Republic of Azerbaijan, we read a translation from French which states, "The southeastern part of the Caucasus is inhabited by people of Turkic Tatar race, who call themselves Azerbaijanis after the name of the country itself. The population of this country, animated by a warlike spirit, was passionately attached to freedom, and slavery was unknown among them. It was divided into a number of independent khanates which united in times of common danger. The khanates of Azerbaijan maintained their independence until almost the first 25 years of the 18th century. The map, created in Nuremberg in 1735 and stored in the Bern University Library, Switzerland, confirms this historical reality. Reports indicate that Azerbaijani khanates were separated from Persian territory and considered themselves a separate entity, as can be seen on map. Then the khanates, still located in the Caucasus, one after another, were forcibly united with the Russian Empire in 1813 and 1828. Here we are talking about the Gulistan and Turkmenchay Treaty. The territories of these khanates, Karabakh, Ganja, Sheki, Yerevan, Derbent, Kuba, Baku, Talish, and Nakhichevan, now form the Republic of Azerbaijan. I emphasize what is written in the document of 1919, the former Karabakh Khanate is included in the Republic of Azerbaijan. We read further on page 20. Another fact from the life of the same country. Muslim women took part in the elections to the National Assembly. They are voters. There are women on municipal councils and women deputies. Muslim women are taking part in the political life of the country for the first time. So that you understand how progressive this republic was. In many Western countries, women were allowed to vote only in the middle of the 20th century. Further, we read that in the parliament of this republic, there are representatives of all religions. Out of 120 seats in parliament, there are 21 Armenians, 10 Russians, 1 Pole, 1 Jewish. The parliament of this early republic was diverse, with representatives from various ethnic backgrounds. Continuing on page 21, where we read, "The entire Azerbaijani people firmly take their future into their own hands, relying on their strengths and rich natural resources. They hope that their independence will be recognized at a peace conference, and that the young Azerbaijan Republic will be able to live an independent political and social life, actively participating in the electoral process of nations in the sacred defense of democracy and the progress of humanity." From what was previously mentioned, Armenians propagated another myth about the supposed Republic of Azerbaijan, which supposedly went unrecognized at the beginning of the 20th century. However, this is merely another piece of Armenian misinformation. As per the 1920 New York Times on page 462, dedicated to the newly created republics of Azerbaijan and Georgia, we come across the section pertaining to the Republic of Azerbaijan. Since December 1919, when the Allies recognized this republic, it has assumed more and more a pro-Turkish character. If that isn't convincing enough, we can refer to the letter penned in January 1920 by Lord Curzon, who served as the Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs in the United Kingdom from 1919 to 1924. His correspondence was addressed to the Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Georgia, Evgeny Gegechkori. This document is currently housed in the National Parliamentary Library of the Georgian Republic, as well as the Library of Congress in Washington and the Columbia University Library. The letter was published in the Committee of Foreign Affairs, House of Representatives in Washington in 1926. On page 300 it reads, "Your Excellency, I have the honor to inform you that Lord Curzon desires me to make known to you that yesterday he took upon himself the initiative of proposing to the Supreme Council of the Allies the recognition de facto of the republics of Georgia and Azerbaijan." This proposal was accepted unanimously and with the agreement of the governments of France and Italy. It is not necessary to tell you with what great satisfaction I communicate the preceding facts to the Georgian government. As concerning our Armenian friends, the question of their recognition is closely bound up with the future peace treaty with Turkey. Additionally, we have a letter from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Italy, echoing the same message of recognition for Georgia and Azerbaijan. Furthermore, an attached map to this document clearly delineates Azerbaijan and Georgia in the South Caucasus, with Armenia located somewhere in eastern Anatolia. The next myth that Armenians often propagate is that Karabakh was never part of the Republic of Azerbaijan in 1918. However, in addition to the previously provided documents where we unequivocally demonstrated this claim to be false, here are some additional documents. First, let's examine a document published in New York in 1922, currently housed in the Library of Congress, USA. This document was authored by PhD Isaiah Bowman, who also served as the founder and director of the American Geographical Society. In the document on page 452, the map of the South Caucasus clearly shows Karabakh as part of Azerbaijan. Before Armenians get too excited about the map, I advise them to read what is written under the map. The western boundary of Armenia is tentative. Also, in the same document, we may read, "The Armenians of Karabakh made an agreement with the Republic of Azerbaijan, whereby both Armenia and Tatars were to be represented in the civil administration of the district." This is because the populations are so thoroughly intermingled that it is impossible to draw a dividing line between them. In another document also stored in the Library of Congress and published in 1924, we also see a map on page 179 where we obviously see Karabakh as a part of Azerbaijan. Furthermore, in the book we can read, "In the Caucasus region, several new states were set up, of which Georgia and Azerbaijan are the most important. The latter contains the rich petroleum field of Baku, and Georgia controls the petroleum shipping port of Batum on the Black Sea." In addition to numerous corroborating documents, various maps from that period support this fact. These include a British military map from 1919, where Karabakh is clearly depicted as part of Azerbaijan, a map produced in July 1918 in Germany, also showing Karabakh as part of Azerbaijan, and even a map from 1919 housed in the French diplomatic archive. In all of these maps, Karabakh is consistently shown as part of the newly formed Republic of Azerbaijan. And finally, let's address the last myth, claiming that Stalin supposedly gave Karabakh to Azerbaijan. Many may have come across the document from July 1921, the protocol of the meeting of the Plenum of the Caucasian Bureau, where on page 92 it is stated that Nagorno-Karabakh should remain within the Azerbaijan SSR. It's important to emphasize that the document uses the term remain and not transfer. However, this raises the question of why these discussions were initiated in the first place. To understand this, let's refer to another document from Soviet Russia dated February 1922 in New York. On page 64, we encounter a map depicting Armenia, as well as Western Azerbaijan, where Karabakh and Zangezur are clearly shown as part of Azerbaijan. Let's delve into what the document states. Armenian army was overwhelmed by the Turkish nationalists. Kars was captured on October 31st, Alexandropol entered on November 7th, and the Armenians forced to sue for peace on any terms. Through the mediation of Russia, the Turkish advance was halted, and on December 3rd, the Treaty of Alexandropol was signed, by which a large part of the province of Kars was ceded to Turkey. On December 2nd, however, a rising against the government of Armenia in Yerevan and Karaclis led to the establishment of a Soviet form of government, but entirely under Armenian control. Sarkis Kasyan was chosen president. Through the intervention of Russia, Azerbaijan ceded to Armenia the Karabakh highlands and the district of Zangezur to compensate for the territory lost to the Turks. On February 18, 1921, a counter-revolution in Yerevan failed and Alexander Mesnagian became president. So, as we understand, after absorbing Azerbaijan and Armenia, Soviet Russia initially attempted to appease Armenia by offering it additional territory to compensate for its losses to the Turks. This included Zangezur and Highland Karabakh at the expense of Azerbaijan. However, when Armenians initiated a counter-revolution in February 1921, the Soviets decided to reconsider their decision. This is why in July 1921 they affirmed that Karabakh would remain part of Azerbaijan. Therefore, it wasn't Karabakh that was given to Azerbaijan by the Bolsheviks, but rather Zangezur that was given to Armenians by the Bolsheviks. Thank you once again for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing and hitting the like button. Until next time.